Ever wondered how those insane 3D viral reels are made? You're in the right place, because today I'm taking you step by step through the entire process of creating catching 3D animations that blow up online. And the best part, we are recreating an animation inspired by one of the sickest animations from the official Houston Cold video. Yes, that one you can see on screen right now. Plus, I'm giving you all the assets and the full project file for free. Just check the description below. No fluff, no wasted time. Let's dive straight into it. Okay guys, so let's start with this animation. Of course, firstly, let's create composition. Let's name that part 1 because this animation actually is going to have 2 parts. Let's have TikTok resolution, frame rate to 30 actually. Duration 10 seconds is okay, perfect. And we'll start from designing that. So firstly, let's start from uploading to our project these 4 screenshots of 4 Imangadzi videos. You can just make a screenshot and upload here. Okay, I just uploaded that. Let's move that to our timeline. Here we have all our photos. Now let's position them on the screen exactly like here, or just in similar way. Let's do it. Of course, let's make all these photos 3D. Okay, now we can also change rotation of these photos. Okay, so let's take first photo. Let's position that somewhere here. Let's make that a little smaller, probably something like that. Now let's take another screenshot and let's position that as well, something like this time. Okay, let's also change position because this should be a little longer distance from the camera than this one, somewhere there. Now let's take almost last one. This time let's change position, rotation actually to something like this, and let's change position of this to something like that. Okay, now last one. Let's change here rotation to probably something like this, and let's change here position to something like this. Actually, we can make this smaller, something like that. Okay, perfect. Now let's also place here this one ST text and YouTuber's text. Let's start from one ST text. Let's create new text layer. Let's write one ST. Let's use here white color, of course. And our font is actually Compacta. From what I remember, yeah, Compacta. Let's make that 3D as well, of course, and let's make that bigger. Let's not change position, just use scale to make this bigger, something like this. Now let's add YouTuber's text. Let's create new text layer. This one, let's here use Montserrat bold text font, and let's write YouTubers. Okay, perfect. We can also make that 3D already. We can make this a little smaller. Should be something like this. Okay, perfect. Now let's, for background, let's create this one ST big red font with only stroke visible. Fill is invisible right here. So to do it, let's copy this one ST text like that. Then let's right click on this. Let's go to create and create shapes from text. Now we can delete this and we have that. Let's make that bigger. Okay, let's change position so it will be behind everything, and then let's make this bigger again. Should be something like that. Now let's go up right there and let's click on fill right there and click here on none, so our fill will be invisible. Then go to stroke and let's set this type of dark red color. Perfect. Click OK. Now go to stroke and let's set pixels to 0.6. Okay, exactly like that. So right now all our elements that we want to animate are already on screen right now. Let's create this animation. We will start maybe from camera, rotation and out zoom animation. So to do it, of course, we need to create new camera by right clicking on timeline, new and camera. Let's use basic settings, and then we can already link null object object to this camera. I can create this by clicking here on motion tools v2 at null. Okay, and right now let's go to rotation and let's create first keyframe for the rotation at start, second keyframe probably somewhere here between first and second, and at the end frame let's set the rotation to 2, and at the start let's set that to -110, something like this. Okay. Now let's also go to position and let's create first keyframe at start, second, and the exact place of the second keyframe for the rotation, so exactly here. And let's go to start and just zoom in that to something like this. Okay, now let's create graphs for these movements. Let's start from speed graph and just create this sharp graph. And for the rotation, actually let's go to value graph, of course, and let's make this similar to something like that. Let's check how it looks like. Okay, and as you can see, it looks perfect. It's exactly how it should look like. Now as well we need to do this opacity animation for these two texts, exactly like that. We'll skip animation for one city text. It's not really good, to be honest. Let's just do this one city YouTubers animation. So to do that, we just need to go first of all to one city. Let's click T on your keyboard, so we'll have opacity. And for second keyframe, let's go somewhere here. Of course, let's start from opacity to 0% and then to 100 without any graph actually for this one. And then let's do same with YouTubers, but this text will start appearing right in the exact place when one city is already appeared. So first keyframe somewhere there, second probably on 1 second mark, for example, and let's start from 0 opacity percents, then to 100. Okay, and this part of animation is actually completed. I think that we can go to final touches just for this element, just for this segment of this animation. What I mean by final touches, I mean all of these effects like scan lines here, like CC vignettes, and at the edges we have that black effect. And let's add deep glow, posterize time, this type of things. Firstly, I want to start from adding here new adjacent layer on which we are going to add first effect, which is going to be deep glow. You can use deep glow 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. Exposure, let's go with 0.1. So it's going to be pretty heavy. You can see this effect just gave us this deep glow effect. See, we have glow on everything. And also we can make edges of our photos more smooth. Okay, so to do this smooth edges for our screenshots, let's use here roughen edges effect, and I'm going to do fractal influence to 0, then border to like 40 probably, scale to, I don't know, just something very high like 700. Let's copy this and let's paste that to rest of our screenshots. Okay, perfect. We can back to adding effects on the whole composition. Our second effect is going to be CC vignette effect. And for this amount, let's set that to 200 for now. Okay, so as you can see right now, our whole composition is a lot darker. Okay. Next effect is going to be film damage, and actually I will leave that like it is. After applying that, as you can see, this is going to add some noises, some grains on this. It's like old film effect actually. Then very important thing, posterize time, which actually is going to decrease amount of our FPS, of our frames per second, but actually in this case it will make our animation even smoother. I'm going to set posterize time in this case to 12, so we are going to have 12 FPS 12 frames per second. Last one thing is going to be skylines effect. You can do it by a lot of ways. You can towland, scanline, PNG and apply this and play with opacity and we will make that. I will use scanlines from Shafir actually because it will be the easiest possible way for now for us. I'm going to set lines frequency to 80. Lines sharpness to 0.1. So we have this subtle skyline effect right there. Also, let's add drop shadow effects on YouTuber's text and one city text. This one, distance probably to like 20, softness to like 100, opacity to 100 also. Okay, you can even double this effect. Let's add that to one city. Also, okay, perfect. Let's see how it looks like right now. Okay, and as you can see, it looks very good. All effects fits with each other really good. And actually this segment of our animation is completed. Right now I'm going to do this. So we have transition of background to white and our one city YouTuber's text is changing to SMMA text in black. Then we have online text also and one city red text is also disappearing and we have this really cool shake effect. So let's do all of these things that I'm just explained. Okay, so firstly let's set position on timeline where our transition of text is actually going to happen. Probably it's going to be here. Let's mark this position because it's very important place on our whole timeline. So yeah, and here we are going to have peak of animation for our zoom in. And maybe let's move camera with null above adjacent layers. Let's go to position. Actually, let's link another null to this. First null, and on second null, let's create our movement. Okay, so first keyframe is going to be probably here. Second keyframe somewhere here, so this movement is going to have 2 seconds. Let's go to second keyframe and let's zoom in that. Probably something like this. And now let's go to graph editor, let's go to speed graph and let's create smooth but not too sharp graph. It's going to be probably something like this. Okay, actually it should be a little sharper, probably this type of graph. Okay, perfect. Now let's select all of our text and let's Ctrl+Shift+D. Thanks that we just split all of these text layers, and let's delete these 3 text layers right there. And in the place when these 3 texts are disappearing, this SMMA text is appearing. So actually we can just copy this one city text and let's move this right there. Just let's delete this opacity animation here. Okay, perfect. Let's change this text to SMMA. Let's change color to gray. Let's make this smaller. Definitely it should be darker gray. Something like this probably. Okay, perfect. Now let's also add here this transition of background because it's very important as well. To do it, actually I'm going to create new composition for now. I will name that white background. Okay. Let's go to this, and firstly I want to add here this paper white MP4 file. You can find that, of course, in the description on Drive that I created for you. And here you have this paper background. Let's rotate that by plus 90 degrees. Okay. And here as well, let's make this transition. I'm talking, of course, about exactly this. So to do that, firstly, let's create new shape layer by clicking here. Let's set here Eclipse tool and let's go to fill. Let's set that white stroke to none and let's create this shape layer. And right now we need to add here scale animation. First keyframe probably here, second somewhere there, and now at start let's set that to 0, at the end to 100 of course, and let's set really smooth value graph right there, probably this type of stuff. Okay, like this. And right now let's go to TrackMate and we have to link this TrackMate for this MP4 file to our shape layer like that. And as you can see, in the place where our shape layer is located, also we can see this MP4 file. In the places where this shape layer is not yet, we can't really see this. Let's also adjust position of that. Okay. So thanks that we can actually animate this transition, but we should have here some roughened edges. And actually to do that, I'm going to use turbulent displace effect to make this edges like turbulented. But let's set amount to 190 and size to actually 100, complexity to 5. Okay. Can already see that it looks different, but I'm going to make this a little more detailed by adding another turbulent displace effect, and I will set amount to 300 and size to like 7. Okay, so as you can see we have here even more details. Complexity on this one I will leave on 1. Okay, yeah, it's exactly what we need. Actually, we can add here posterized time effect and we can set that to 16. Perfect. Now let's back to our part 1 composition and let's add this white background composition to our part 1 main composition. Okay. And now let's also move this probably somewhere here, so this transition will fit with zoom. Okay, perfect. But as you can see, when we already have this white background, I will show you that maybe, we don't have so strong vignette effect because it simply doesn't look good. So we need to add some keyframes to our vignette effect. We have this exact right there, and let's make first keyframe when we can have that. Probably here, go to amount, let's set that, and second keyframe, probably like there, and let's set that to, I don't know, probably something like 150, something like that. Okay, and by the way, we can also remove from our SMMA text this drop shadow, because drop shadow is not important here, is not needed here because we have black text on white background. It doesn't have any sense to have drop shadow here. Actually, I think we can make this a little smaller. This is some of my text. Let's move this like there. Let's make that a little smaller. Let's fit that somewhere here. Okay. And right now, last two things. Firstly, this zoom in transition to our second part of animation, which also we will create in a second. but also we need to appear here online red text as well. So let's do this two little things, and then also we need to add here this shake effect on the change, so it will be smoother and better looking. Let's start from maybe transition. Place of end of this animation is going to be exactly here. Let's link under null here. I'm going to do it manually this time. Let's link this, let's make this 3D. Okay, perfect. And let's create this end keyframe at this place and start keyframe somewhere here, probably. And at the end, at the second keyframe, let's change this position to something like that. Let's create also our graph, but it's going to be very easy one, just this. Okay, perfect. Also, let's add this online text. It's going to happen somewhere here. Actually, you can copy YouTuber's text and we can move this right there, but we need to change here some things. Firstly, we need to remove this opacity transition. Secondly, we need to make here not caps text, and we need to change fill to this type of red color. Also, we need to remove this drop shadows. Okay, and we need to change here text to online and dot. Perfect. Also, let's make this smaller and let's place that probably somewhere there. Actually, let's leave here subtle drop shadow, just something like this. Also, let's change position so it's going to be in front of SMMA text. Okay, that should be it. Also, I almost forgot, I only will watch that. You can see here that we have actually camera shake effect. What is camera shake effect? It's actually extra shake movement, really slow shake movement for all of our scene. So to do that, we need to create new null, link to our new null, and make this 3D, of course. Then go to position, press Alt on keyboard, click on position, and here let's write wiggle effect. We can also name that wiggle effect, not camera shake. And here let's write 1 and 17. So actually here 1 is going to be frequency of this movement, of this shake, of this wiggle, and 17 is going to be our volume. Okay, perfect. Now we can actually pre-compose everything what is here. Let's name that part 1. And right now we can add shake. Shake is going to have peak, of course, on the change of texts. So probably right there. To do that, let's add adjacent layer, of course, firstly, and I'm going to use Twitch effect. If you don't have Twitch effect, it's very easy to download, so yeah, you can download that and apply here. Now let's go to enable and let's click here on blur and light. We don't need to have color, scale, slide time on this shake. Speed, already I can tell that we need 20. And now let's animate amount. Okay, so let's create 3 keyframes in this type of locations. At start, in the middle, let's set that to 60. At start, at the end, we need to set 0 because we want to have end of this shake in these places. As well, we can cut this adjacent layer in the places where we don't have animation. Okay, perfect. Also, we want to animate that probably by using value graph, and of course it should be really sharp. Probably something like this. Also, last two things, go to operation controls and let's go to blur and lights. Blur, let's set to 100, light amount to 100 also, so it will be higher. Okay, I think that first part of our animation, so to exactly this place of transition to another scene is completed. Let's check how it actually looks like. Okay, so actually, as you can see, it looks really clean. Everything is in the right place, everything looks really nice. All movements are smooth enough. It's just really good animation. Right now I'm going to create another composition. Let's name that part 2. Okay, so let's go with last scene and second scene. This one, as you can see here, we have some screen records from YouTube of Imangadzi video with these rectangles, strokes, documenting his journey. Text at the middle, we have really nice blue color correction right there. It's going to be pretty easy to create actually. Let's start with that. First, let's upload here screen recording which I did from one of first Imangadzi's videos. Okay, it's right there. Let's make this smaller. Now let's go here. Let's change this to rectangle tool and let's mask that like that, so we see only elements that we are interested in, something like this. And right now we need 4 different scenes which I record. First this scene. Okay, we can split that and find place in the screen record when I showed second scene right here. Now let's find third scene which I showed on the screen record right there, and fourth scene, this one. Perfect, we have 4 scenes. We can back to part 1 also and copy this smooth edges effect from there. Let's copy that to all of our screen records. Now let's place all of this on screen in similar way like here. I'm not going to recreate that one to one, just it's something similar to this. Okay, so simply let's go with first one. Of course, let's make all of this screen records 3D. Let's go to rotation. Let's change rotation to something like this. Okay, let's place this there, for example. Perfect. Now let's go with second one. Let's change here rotation also to something like that. Maybe we can change position as well to something like this. Let's adjust this to a little. Go with almost last one. Go to rotation. Let's change this a little. I don't know, something like this. Go to position. Let's move this a little longer distance from camera, something like that. Now last one, this one as well, a little change of rotation and position. Let's move this maybe here. Maybe let's change rotation. Okay, something like that. It's perfect in my opinion. Now let's make this rectangles. To do it, let's go here to rectangle tool, fill to none, stroke to 2 pixels, and let's create that. It should be something like this. Okay, and first one let's place somewhere here probably. Now let's make this of course 3D. Now let's duplicate that. Let's go to position and let's change here this position to like 400. Let's duplicate that again. Let's go to position and this time let's change that to 800. Okay, so we have something like this. Now this documenting journey text right there. Let's create new text layer. For documenting, let's use Monsterrat, but light version of this. Let's write documenting. Of course, let's set this to white. and let's place that here probably. Now let's duplicate that and let's set here his journey. Of course, we need to capitalize this text also, and here it should be bold version of this monster rat. Let's also make this bigger. Here let's move this so it will be not on this text. Let's move this a little right there. Also his journey, of course, we need to make it a little bigger, so it's going to be starting and ending in the exact same places as our documenting. Actually, it's a little too big right now, a little too small. Now it's perfect. Okay, so right now we just need to animate documenting his journey, and actually we just need to do the same opacity animation. So 2 keyframes, it should be pretty short, and on first keyframe opacity to 0, on second keyframe opacity to 100. You can copy that to his journey, of course, and you know, his journey animation should start when documenting animation is ending. Okay, perfect. Make this 3D, of course, these two texts, documenting and his journey. Okay, and actually just this camera movement animation left for this one. So of course we need to create new camera and null and link new null to this camera. Let's go to position and let's create first keyframe like there, second maybe there, and let's change position on our first keyframe to something like that. Go to speed graph and change graph to something like that. Okay, so this subtle short movement, and right now we will start our final touches for this scene by adding here all adjacent layer from first part of animation. Okay, let's add this here, but with just one small adjustment. We don't need the CC vignette change, it can be like this for whole of animation. Okay, but actually we can decrease that by 50, so 150 here, so it will be not so dark scene. Okay, perfect. And I think that we can simply left here all adjacent layers from first part, and to create that blue color correction or color grade right there, we need to use lux effect. So let's apply this lux effect on this scene. Let's go to edit, and here we are going to create all of that in this lux editor. Let's go to tools. Here we have a lot of different tools. Firstly, I want to add here colorista effect. This one. Let's go to colorista settings. Let's set shadows to something like this. Midtones, let's leave like here. This, let's change, of course, to blue. Probably something like this. Okay. Then what we want to add is this effect. Okay. Let's go to settings for this effect, and actually let's leave that like that. Last effect is going to be 4-way color, and this should be at the end. Okay, and 4-way color, here shadows should be blue like this. Okay, it should be good. We can just change colorista a little, like shadows, something like this. Okay, now click that. Perfect. Now we can also move this adjacent layer with looks below scan lines and posterize time. Okay, perfect. I hope it looks very similar to original what I created. Yeah, it's in a little different color actually. It's a little different blue. We can change that. Let's go to settings. Let's go to colorista and let's change this blue to actually something more like, not so much, but something more like this. Also, what I suggest is add solid here, like solid, and let's place that below everything, because as you can see, our colorista effect have to be on the black solid as well, because thanks that it looks just better. We can also adjust colorista effect for new. Okay, something like that. Perfect. I think it's very similar. Okay, so right now we can create new composition. Let's name that main, and let's have here part 1. Okay, perfect. When we will place part 1 and part 2 animation on timeline, let's cut part 1 animation when it's ending, like when our last movement is ending, and let's place here part 2. Okay, perfect. And I think with that we have actually finished our animation. Let's check how our final result looks like. As you can see, it's done, and it's really high quality viral animation that can be used in viral reels, and it's really high quality. Okay, so with that being said, we can actually end this video. Don't forget to give like and subscribe. Don't forget to check description, because there is all what you need to recreate that with all assets and free project file.